Please note that this video contains spoilers for the subject and the series and/or franchise leading up to this entry. Put off by how long this video is, don't worry, I try to jam-pack my videos with as much content and as much detail as I possibly can. Anything I feel I can comment on and that I feel you might be interested in, I pretty much put in the video. I try not to repeat myself and talk fairly fast. I either have or will cover other parts of this franchise, and this video either is or will be linked below. I'm not going to restate here what I did or will say in the other video. These videos get long enough as it is. Allo Allo, Seasons 6 through 9, Thoughts. Now, since yesterday was Friday the 13th, it would make a lot of sense for me to take this day to review a horror movie. As usual, I did not plan ahead. But I have recently watched all the Freddy and Jason movies, if that counts. Now, let's just make sure everything... Whoopsie daisy. Everything works, and I'm going to start by scrolling down a bit, and desperate doings in the graveyard. There. And scrolling, still scrolling, here we go. Do care and attention. Expect that. Floppy rhubarb. Last until tomorrow. Started without you. A tin bath, you know, that might actually work. Commandeered carpet. It has vexed me. Cricket bats. Big enough? Sung by. I love the that should definitely fool them. Nice bits. Phew. We all want you. Drop him in the what's it. That is a pretty good bogey impersonation. And René immediately recognizes the Colonel. I could try. Coming along quite well. After we are married. Bring him in here. And stand behind him. Well, someone's been watching NCIS. Does that mean that on that show they use Nazi methods? You know, I'm not actually entirely surprised by that. Very right-wing leaning show. And in that case, can I go? Excuse me. The lieutenant is so proud that he's following the manual. The moles. Stock up for the winter. That is the time they pop off. Well, I am. The colonel is so hurt that the general first said he was satisfied and then said he wasn't. She would make anything work. Show him. But be careful of a dicky ticker. The expert certainly gets things to rise. But they don't last long. How unusual. Go to your grave. Press the cherub's buzzer as absolutely. I love the reaction to the picture. I hope the vicar is not looking out his window. The one you shot. Who is this Jack Hughes? We will steal some from the colonel's garden. And pressing the buzzer makes the cherub's mouth open wide, and René rises above and they think it's his ghost. Good work on the spooky lighting. And you know, there's just enough mist and they're already kind of creeped out, so they can't tell that he's, you know, there's a pole holding him up. You know, if it was bright daylight, they would easily be able to tell, of course. The Gestapo for the high jump. And critical moment. To a point, yes. State every morning. And it causes the rise of his leg. When Yvette left René on the table, I expected someone else to walk in and him to think it was Yvette. That can't have been the actor's actual legs. Awkward moment. You have expounded the plot well. And still with the cricket bat. Completely deceived. Tied up. Well dressed. And Michelle was there the whole time. We had a good run. Knackered. 100 lines. Your big handicap. Great Crabtree scene. Good to do. News hour engagement spreads fast. Buses. Drop a ball every 10 meters. And she's promoted on the spot. 1 stripe is all you're getting. Well, Rommel was a good tactician, and Hitler famously wasn't. So. Leclerc, bah. What, like a sheep? You had better say it all again. Excuse me. Boris Karloff. And he walks on the table and accidentally spits it in his eye. And tobacco pipes with mustaches. About 10 seconds. And he keeps counting. Pow to my knees. And the knickers go. And the knickers down around the ankles. And they all look like creatures from horror movies because Boris Karloff makeup. They do give good horror creature performances. Try swimming. And... excuse me. I just want to try to get this out of the way before starting recording. The Nouvion Oars. In my defense, it's cold out. Congratulations. I forgot how much of a running gag they made of the knickers around the ankles, knickers elastic, snapping and such. Excuse me. Wheel in number 1. Line his most expensive coffin. The bum of a pigeon. Nicely cartoon sounds as the radio readies this time. A 6-foot pixie and a bird sat on the aerial. He brought poodles, and it's the Gestapo. And the descriptions of the made-up movie monsters. Made-up movie monsters. To our dictionaries. Don't you mean your powerful Gestapo dictionaries? Before the airmen reveal themselves, they turn the periscope to face Ernest. Get his finger out. Take very good care of their privates. Very good double entendre. Some of it is spilling over, and she can't open the bottle. How to get them out again? And she accidentally threw it onto someone. You have rendered him unconscious. But I have. Sunny and outgoing personality. Try your back, and up goes the walking stick. It is working. Me. I miss me too. Edith can dance. In that case, I should say this only once. Radio-controlled goose. Its eyes will flash, it will emit smoke from the other end. That should help it stand out from the crowd. I have not gone yet. Get out and give us a push start. And he sings made-up words to Solo Mio. Almost certainly. Goose away. It cleared up last week, and the goose has a phone. And Ernest and René try to look inconspicuous, and the periscope goes through the German's rowboat. And that brings us to the Nicked Airmen. And let me just check that it's still recording. It is. And that was slightly too far. Scroll. There we go. Stroking the ladies. I shall say this only once, says René to Michelle. That? Do not worry. With machine guns? Where's he putting his Schmeiser? That is quite... That word does sound like a euphemism. Such language miscommunications between the British and German. He does not know Mrs. either. And crept up the creeper. Prickly feeling. No, the whole monk. What were you doing at the time? Questions I should like to ask him. There's something not quite right up there. And stop looking in the mirror. And René follows behind the screen. Maybe the reason they're in such a hurry to get the mother-in-law and Ernest married is so that Ernest actor won't die before it happens, like the Roger one. Engorge, you say. Get the half-dressed waitresses in here. I will look it up. We'll have to charge you for a new one. Good improvised code, Edith. Not a terrible plan, Michelle. And all of them start fighting each other. There we go. He will not easily be disturbed. And Smallhausen is enjoying having a little power over Herr Flick. Field Marshal Crackerfont. And the Airmen De-Nicked. No cock at all. Not quite enough money in the till. There we go. And too big to go into a kennel. They've been wanting to do a come out of the closet joke with Grouper for a long time. The lieutenant is very useful for plans these days. A fast limp. Should I hold it for you? No. Would you care to rest it on the table? Why do you have a smaller one than me? Hobble in here. You do as many as you can. Insured against shell fire. To cut off the balls. And I cannot go upstairs with you now, we are open. But hang on to the outfit. I shall whisper this only once. That's why they call it Occupied France. What is it with the waitresses fighting in these episodes? I guess they felt that they needed a knee thing. Exploded my mother. This is not for the road. Let me give you one. And the medals come up. Oh, what a surprise. It is the cold temperature. That one. Ah, Ernest put the gear in R for race. Eat this. I think they just meant the paper. And they argue over who shows him the papers. He was young when we started. I worried they would be forced to bring with them the soldiers with the handcuffs, but being handcuffed to the airmen is not much better. When you arrive there, you will get the key. Them cranking it and bouncing is really funny. On the accelerator. And they all have to fit on the bike. the crooked fences. And let's see. Which is broken. Our names he will be. It could be needed any day. We would be free by Friday. Go and open the cafe, and definitely bring the gun with you instead of leaving it so that they could at least try shooting the cuffs off. And they run with the tent. Do you mean the black underwear? Abnormally large keyhole. Your door also has a big keyhole. Without food and gin. She shot off one of his balls. I do not wish to be seen in public with a sausage. My formerly secret headquarters, I was a sausage short. And the agent is just as bad at French as the cop is. The ducks will not escape again. And they all raise their hands. 3 more paper bags have come to stuff your mattress. They look hilarious with the paper bags on their heads. And the Undertaker can't see anything with the bag on. And they keep bowing to each other. And the captain says the colonel's name. He said Undertakers are very discreet. And the captain says another name. And the colonel says Helga. I really love the 2 agents speaking bad French to each other. Okay, this waitress fight made me chuckle. They're behaving like such children. And priest René says, you stupid woman. And the other priest arrived. It is where I come from. We do not give money, we take it. No receipt. And that brings us to Crabtree's Podgeon Pist. Not while I have this hat on. Good improvised church speech, René. But I know that you know someone who does know them. Besides, the last bus left 4 hours ago. And Smallhausen gets to shout orders. One day the Gestapo may become unpopular. You don't say. She kicks the cane and he falls into her. And now Michelle insults Edith. They're really big on getting the women to argue with each other over petty stuff in this season. Shotgun wedding. An everyday sighting in Nouvion, of course. I do not like it. Over my dead body. Well, I can't argue with that. In a steaming rage. Heil nothing. General, please, there is no call for grabbing the lady privates of the German army. I live there. And now Edith speaks bad French too. And the pigeon starts moving under the hat. He seems to be raring to go. It would make us very unpopular. I should have figured that the Algerian disguise would be racist. And now Leclerc's voice is all high-pitched. And now René's voice is all high-pitched. It would take months to make as many enemies in a strange town. Buried in Munich, and Habsburg, and Bremen. Yep, still going. He did not even wait for the message. I know, he was chasing that string that was right in front of him like crazy. And Leclerc passes out. Am I marrying or burying? It keeps being funny how Leclerc keeps falling. And they drag in the bed because she can't get out of it. Not yet, monsieur. I've yet to do pages on stuff. And his middle name is Dipstick. And her middle name is Now You See It, Now You Do Not. And they push the bed back out with both of them in it. Let's see, that brings us to Rising to the Occasion. Huh. Oh, here we go. I think this is what it's... Yeah, I guess we'll see. I love the reveal of the airmen. I thought this was it. Is this customary? Can I have the bridesmaid? Can the groom get up? Then stay in the passage forever. You do not get that information for 1 shilling. And more high-pitched talking. Not if you're amongst friends. Looking forward to a good blowout, you know. Who, of course, I do not know. The storming of the Bastille. I mean, the storm outside the Bastille. Okay, it is starting to get old. He keeps being woken up and then advertising the mirrors. Do not cut too deep. Though they were both in bed. Though they both were in bed. And the singing gets squeaky. The Germans look so confused. They're trying to see if they can spot Cinderella, since clearly the mice are singing. It's ticking. From my position in the street. Learn from your mistake. It is a big one. And the communist resistance are back. Who has got the wrong number? Could you put that gun down for a start? Strong arms, strong fingers, strong hair. Time passes when you're not enjoying yourself. It would seem that my watch is slow. They're very rude. I was wondering if Smallhausen survived the explosion. I'm getting you a cognac. That will be the day. He always came dressed as Attila the Hun. A message between the legs. Nothing that would be of any use. They are at the Menders. They will be back Thursday. Well, we can wait. Sneak. And the captain makes fun of the general behind his back. The general went full Hitler. Never go full Hitler. Very good imitation. He must have really studied the tapes. The actor, I mean. Fruitcake department. I haven't said until now, but Crabtree and the female agent are kind of sweet together. And among all the screaming, the bed lifts off. And eventually they start waving at the bed taking off. On second thoughts. And... let's see. Yep, still recording. And that brings us... was that the first... we're definitely in the 7th season now. I forget if that was the episode of this, but here we go with A Quiet Honeymoon. Honeymoon, not honey. And here we are. Banging in the spare bedroom. A bill for the wood and the screws. I shall gasp this only once. Another change of actor for Leclerc, but this time it's the same character. They found an actor who looked a lot like the other one, even if he doesn't sound much like him. Another appointment with a stiff. Can't you see we're busy? The new Captain Bertorelli doesn't look or sound that much like the old one. He is written similarly, though. I mean, they do both have a fair kind of, Italian thing going on. It's kind of slightly different Italian stereotypes they hit. Which I guess is better than a bad impersonation of the other actor. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Are you going to try for life? What's his name? Being banged up like this. Good double take by the cop. I do like the new captain, and in some ways he does look more Italian. The other general takes over. Poor guy, he lost the reason to wear a monocle. It looks quite good. Look, Mama, I've been at the pasta again. Priest Snapchat Museum Snapchat. If you want rubbish on the wall, you can have rubbish on the wall. The general operates the phone without his hands. Very Olsen King. We'll leave him for the time being. I got the fish. I got the seaweed. 3 stars. I will not hold my breath. A new hiding place for the airmen in the kitchen. Lack of gin. Well, Edith is certainly salty when René refuses to help her free her mother. If it was, I think we're eating outside. The Gestapo do not pay overtime. No, yes. Come back when you're bigger. Dear coward husband. Good hiding place behind the bed. They've been pardoned. Trump wastes no time, does he? On certain things. Give him a brandy on the house. I don't know, won't it be easier to drink if they put it in a glass? Do not tell it where I live. The knob fell off. Do-it-yourself hiding places. Which brings us to an almighty bang. And the knob fell off. Poor Fanny, they barely even had a honeymoon. A fitting epitaph. Tape measure. I can hear wheezing. Do not drill through her mother. She has no vital organs. They need a charge. Don't they still have puddings? After that, we may not need dynamite. Wrong. Riding a bicycle without a rear light. That is near enough. Him as well. Von Bratwursten. We'll need a suicide squad. Well, get out the pastels and ghettoized characters. He's too excited to speak. In fact, he may never speak again. And the cop pulls several rods out of his pants. Dinamite. Must be Italian. And the Gestapo go into the room right before it blows up, which would be most distressing. For a German general, that is not unusual. You will be the most believable. You've convinced me. Edith's outfit is nicely broad. I get carried away with the part. I could be here a long time. No candles, then what is this? Uh-oh. Some of my champagne is very old. The dynamite was left by someone I don't know for someone I've never heard of. And the general's gone crazy. Fleeing monks. And there we are. I'm trapped between the devil and the deep blue sea. Somebody help me. Even the pigeons were out to get me. Is that not obvious? What did he say? Goodbye. Expect a brick from me. Either way, monsieur, you're done for. Bring him in. Go away. For a silent monk, you are doing a lot of talking. No more wet celery. What about the egg whisk? It takes from it. René prepared 2 paper signs, his monk name and peace be with you. No, no. Stuffin, was he? Tough luck. Permanently deprived of nookie. He is not known as Ménage à Trois for nothing. Clever nickname. You are always on short rations. That is an overpowering reason. Suddenly the Gestapo have second thoughts about the pretend-to-be monks idea. 20 minutes to be on the safe side. Everything is so stiff. Did someone call? When you get to England, tell that Churchill to get his finger out. Oh, now the knob has come off. Did someone call? And because Edith doesn't say anything, René thinks it's Yvette next to him. So. the Crick without a Piddle. And there we go. Well, that will do. And more catfighting. And they compare her to Hitler. A monk and a monkess. And he speaks as bad French as the cop. Hans, and he speaks perfect English now. Thank you. Or he will. And he shines the light on himself. How am I doing so far? Good impersonation of Churchill. He's almost speechless with excitement. Yeah, he can't wait to show his English medals to the Germans. I appreciate the authenticity, but personally I would not want to be that close to pigs. And then they start eating the food, which is both gross and dangerous. I should say I've never been up close with a pigeon or a pigeon or a pig, for that matter, personally, but I have heard stories. I have family who've done farming, and yeah, they may look friendly, but they're fast and they can get very excited. Lauren Hardy, you may be shot as traitors. There's a lot of that going around. For a while it seems like they weren't going to show Churchill's face, but there it is when he's giving the medals. A little bit of what you fancy does you good. And another sausage. And they bonk him on the head. I'll come around and knock you up at about 8. Hans still sometimes can't keep track of what side he's on. I give you one later. And they come in through the roof. Convenient. He was almost out the back door. I will do my best. The Gestapo ruin a picnic. There we go. Whoops. There we go. And here. I expect the pigs got used to it. Sacks of potatoes do not usually stroll in here to get themselves peeled. The whole subplot with the Gestapo and the convent reminds me of Thief the Dark Project when Garrett goes undercover as a Hammerite. We nearly lost those a couple of times. That was because of your poor needlework. You will pull it out at your peril, von Smallhausen. She agrees with slight reservations. And René uncorks the bottle. I'm not sure I've seen someone do that without the cork flying off in any other piece of film fiction. I don't drink with the Germans unless they're a general and it's good wine. I mean, she does have a bad memory, so there's that. That might explain it. Until 3 o'clock this afternoon. We'll need obituaries. They think they're in such bad shape that they literally die from hiking 10 miles. And Edith accidentally spills on the general. We will put it on the account. The Spirit of Nouvion. And here we are. I saw 3 shadows and thought it was strange. What painting? He poses, desperately hoping that she'll take the hint and shut up. I've heard about the cock-up on the telephone pole. She was insulting me, not you. He's not used to being the one not insulted. That will teach you to insult me. She's behaving like a 7-year-old. In that case, I've always been better off. After what I have just seen, it's going to be a hard decision. Decision? That's a weird nickname for your Johnson. Is that the first time the cop has said the name of the painting? Very good translation. I think I would have remembered it if he said it like that and another time previously. The German officers keep cheating at chess like children. Ah, so the plan is going to be carried out by midnight tonight. We have a friend, our first one. Do you want to come over for tea? Do not let that Peter Lorre film you saw last night completely dominate your mind. It will influence my choice of undergarment. Ah, method actor like Robert De Niro for The Untouchables. Do not push your luck. Are you pretending to break up with me? And they shouted the secret message. And they all overreacted to finding out it's Gestapo. I think I will have an early night. She thought that it was for her, not for the mission. Didn't they get divorced last episode, or threatened to at least? Did they make up off-screen? We are the Gestapo, and then it fires hazelnuts like a machine gun. One of my all-time favorite jokes of the entire show, of the ones that aren't running gags. One of the ones that I remember the most. And everyone knows it's the secret headquarters of the Gestapo entrance. And he goes cross-eyed. And they're all safe breakers. And the lieutenant thinks it's the dead twin. And he starts to explain. Let's see. Leg it to Spain. I'm not trying to rush through these, I just don't have that many notes for the episodes. Careful, you will crush my onions. I knew you would have an explanation, and such a plausible one too. If I had been awake, I would be able to give you a more accurate description. And smell horsing. Lots of good Crabtree talk with the Gestapo there. Love the drawing of the suspects. Stick another feather in your hat. Where would he possibly pin another medal anyway? What's that college humor thing? You know, you're giving medals too readily, or your generals are just too tiny. So that is where my bathroom bulbs went. And they electrocute each other. Is that what it was? I thought it was one of the peasants skinning a cat. Roses are out of season. I only found out after I wrote the poem. I'd rather kiss the cod. Maybe they could learn something from us. Is he eating flowers? I thought it was only Homer's secret shame. They're not even very far away in that tree. Snails. And one of the snails is moving. I love what the Gestapo are wearing. Flick keeps failing at romance and blaming everyone but himself. Classic nice guy. Poor Edith trying to hold the pose. I'm running out of sincerity. And the general wants the barrels, and René can't convince them to leave. Prior engagements. And her boobies are not big enough. Ah, more balls. I merely took down your dictation, General. When you start, I will. And once they draw pencils, the captain has a bigger one. Look, my feathers, they droop. I like how the general has a different dismissive attitude to the captain's salute of Heil Mussolini every time recently. The Gestapo swimming lessons are quite funny. You were married to my twin brother. Finally someone on the show remembers that detail. Sorry, I will read again. Those were my personal notes. I am glad. Are you glad to hear it? Count the takings from the till. His fingers will never be on my till. Do not spill it on the floor or it will take off the polish. I forget if I've said before, I guess I haven't. I don't find Ernest shaking as funny as Roger's double takes, but huge apologies if that's outside of the Ernest actor's control. You will break my ticker. It is already dicky. Yeah, still recording. Thinking of you going through the motions with that man. In Italy, the husband gets the satisfaction. The peasants don't get a look in. The Gestapo in the frogsman's suits look hilarious. My subscription to Wentworth runs out next week. Good to see you haven't lost your sense of priorities. It would be yours tonight, and the fire alarm is on his head. You will test it. And soup and sausage. René stuffing sausages down his pants is quite funny. Lowering the sausages down. And René is caught by Edith. For once it actually is sort of innocent. And they flush. That is what she was complaining about. That's a decent imitation by Mimi. And you are an artist. Michelle knows just what to say. Good impersonation by Edith as well. I cannot go into the square and start banging in daylight. Yes, that would arouse suspicion. If you had down your trousers what I had down mine, you would walk strangely. Big Ed. René lowering the sausages is hilarious. We pour the worst of the food right down there. Is that going to lead to someone just throwing soup down there or something? It is for the boobies which occupy much of the painting. Where he will no longer be a pain in the bum. I do not want her nipple on her nose. Well, he's never tickled mine. It will be a pleasure, General. That's what I hope. I like Big Stern already, shouting louder than Helga, being Nazi stiff. My men are working around the clock, sometimes 2 or 3 hours a day. You may have heard of me. No. And she asked for permission from the officers. Or advice, whatever. Big Stern is tall. And she's already turned down the captain with a slap. They might not be big to you, but they are to us. And Big Stern is the dominant in the relationship with Flick. You may kiss me now. For once, it's the woman saying that to Flick. The steam valve looks like a fart. But you were on top of the list. And they poured down the wrong drain. And the Brits ran to the wrong drain, and then back, and then it's out. And Big Stern continues to be dominant. I'm locking myself in my cupboard. The ice cream truck has seen better days. I'm not as young as I was. I shall only be able to bang in short periods. This I believe. And the ice cream goes. That's not saying much. That's all you're fit for. The General wants ice cream. No problem, General. And it sprays the ice cream on the General. Have you anything to say? Would you like a wafer with it? And René of the Romani. And I realize that's not the original title, but I don't use that word. The G word. Float by the underground stream. That's disgusting. frostbite to his nose. I would give them the bullets. We in the Resistance are prepared for anything, a line that becomes hilarious when it's talking about sunbathing. Rats have eaten the sandwiches, and Helga calls. And the dialing tone censored the obscene word. Leave it running. Pretty xenophobic depiction of the Romani. You will die in a railway tunnel. And the Romani almost gives away René's indiscretions. Big Stern can sing too. On whose orders? Yours. He wasn't, the cat was. I would call my lawyer if he wasn't already in the nick. And she easily pulls the bars apart and then back together. And the cop accidentally gets locked in the cell. After all, you close the door when you leave the room. Although he wasn't the last to leave the room, so excuse me. A bill for the vase. We can't afford the vases. Now that's a beard. She went on Amish on them. I will get my bowl out. Quite an impressive size. And it fades from the fortune-telling to the airmen back to the fortune-telling. I did not want to see him, I just wanted to give him a message. And more Brits, and they're all loud. And we move on to the 8th season, and did I accidentally go too far? I went too far, excuse me. Now, a bun in the oven, and I suppose I should state that this was apparently a Christmas special. For some reason on the DVDs, it's basically the last episode on any of the discs, which is really weird because chronologically it clearly takes place, at the start of season 8, or technically the end of season 6, whatever. It would be really, like, if I hadn't looked it up, if I had accidentally watched this after the last episode instead of here where it belongs, I've been really confused, and this episode sets up stuff that gets followed up on in the 8th season, so yeah. I guess I should put this with the previous episode, but here goes. I kind of wish that they would write in new elements more frequently. I really like when they brought in more bad French speakers, like the cop is, and Helga's replacement, Big Stern. Making the communist resistance characters was fine, even though it didn't really lead to more conflict. Maybe they were so surprised that a British series went on for as long as this did that they could barely keep up and bring in new ideas. Comparatively, American comedy shows bring in more new locations and characters than this does. All knitting is small to begin with. Start with, whatever. The church music sounds decidedly ominous, not joyous. 3 bins. Even if they were not, people would be none the wiser. Yes, we have the booklet. I'm glad you answered him, Colonel. That is the polite thing to do. Such terrible Spanish speaking. That's because it's Spanish. So you have been wasting your time. Well, he does go on a bit. That does limit our options a bit. Thank you for the thought, but I make my own arrangements. Let's see. When I first watched this, I wasn't sure if Big Stern would return. Now that I've watched the entire rest of the show, I know that she doesn't. I feel like they didn't give, it's just kind of she's, Helga calls and is saying she wants to come back. Big Stern is there, and now Big Stern is just not there, and Helga is back. I mean, if they didn't want to have both characters. Maybe they didn't want to have Helga realize that Big Stern even existed. Maybe they didn't want to have both characters there at the same time and fighting over Flick, which I appreciate less cat fighting in the show. And maybe Big Stern was always basically just supposed to be there for those episodes until Helga came back. I don't think Helga is in the same episode other than that last one. I just think that it would have been good for this episode to have a reconciliation between Helga and Flick. And the last episode to have Big Stern leave for some reason, which I'm pretty sure wasn't there. Let's see. We've got the fantasy about the pregnancy, and we see Mimi's. They both have a very active imagination. Which one was the first? Edith, maybe? Yeah, I think so. I didn't spell check, and as I've said before, the voice typing sometimes gets things really wrong. I think of you while I do it. When Mimi thinks of René, she touches herself. The radio blew up. Love the design. Toilet paper forged money. It was so deep I thought it was just a rumor. I love the cop's pronunciation of consequences. You cannot resist my croaky voice. He hypnotized both waitresses and Michelle. Before you go too deep, are you worried she'll end up in limbo? Not on your Nelly. Is she gonna use scotch tape to put the booby back? He extracted something from Firefly? Must have been quick to make it before it was taken off the air. And the injection is up his butt cheek, and his butt goes like a firefly. You can use my bicycle while I am away. The lieutenant is much more angry and gutsy here than usual. The Undertaker tries to hypnotize Edith into sex. That's really disgusting. Now, and I wasn't sure if this, if this episode was going to remain in continuity. I mean, it was apparently a Christmas special, so I don't know how it aired. If, special episodes, not necessarily everyone watches them, if they're not part of the overall airing schedule, So, I mean, it has some really important stuff in it. You'd be really confused if you didn't watch this when you watched the episodes of Season 8. The other episode, whatever. Arousing Suspicions. Excuse me. And almost there. Here. See, what I was thinking was that the episode would be kind of prequeled instead of sequeled, because it does, right at the start of it, they do say, so and so much time has passed, and did the airmen actually escape? At the start of the special, they say the airmen have escaped. Did they actually escape in the... I guess I'm so used to the escapes not working out, so I didn't really notice if there was an escape and we didn't see them, and we didn't see it fail or something. But yeah, I was thinking that the special was almost like a lead up to the finale, and that most of the rest of the episodes would take place before that. Maybe also because, in the special, there's this thing of Yvette being pregnant, and then you have this whole thing, in the finale, you have René Jr., so when the bangs were at their biggest, how do they know that we are not? And the postcard catches fire. You must produce your booby. I shall wheeze this only once, but then most things do. This is a lemon, and this is a woman's breast. Well, explain. A last-minute attempted revitalization. blowing down its beak. The wind just came out the other end. And the cop reads the prayer in bad French. If it wasn't dead, it is now. And they swap out the batteries. Well, he just had his breakfast. My melons are slipping. Because it wakes me up. There will be no kissing privates in this hostel. And they get electrocuted. How was it for you? Before we got the close-up, I thought the guitar player was Leclerc, not the Undertaker. And the cop sings in bad French. Whoops, easy. A woman never lies. Cue the MRAs shouting. And here we are. I don't think the lamppost had the same luck. With a hole in such a prominent place. I think that was poorly much time. You will get your hand on my booby. One what? The real Juan. This is what I get for leaving things to the men. Ransom, good thinking, Michelle. The biggest pair he had ever seen. Subtle way. I'm knocking the photo. Would you prefer a firing squad? Writing out my last will and testament. You are forbidden to see another Peter Lorre film for 1 month. She's going too fast for me, Herr Flick. You're speaking faster than my brain processes language. When I watched that episode of Everwood, my now ex-fiance pointed out, really, he's like from New York, and this girl can speak. Yeah, not that she's a girl, but that she's not from New York. You know, they sacrificed logic for a funny line. I have no more lead in my pencil. Brilliant, as always. I'm sure he's busy. One of the other generals will. Fearless and strong. Maybe give that line to someone who isn't prone to coughing fits. The door opens. Twice. The cop is almost as good with sound effects as the police academy guy. We're not alcoholics, you know. Do you not think someone is bound to recognize our voices? Yeah, I was thinking that too. And the recording is all sped up. And it looks like the lieutenant is humping that dummy. And the air goes out of the dummy. We're ambushing them, not inviting them to tea. That goes without saying. What is that noise? It's coming from inside the truck. Isn't it obvious? The cache of money has achieved sentience and is displeased at being locked up. The mouse got the cheese without setting off the trap? Is this Jerry? It is the wrong cylinder, and the hearse is hurrying away. Hitler's last Heil. Okay. And still recording. Though for how much longer I do not know. You need them more than I do. Relax? I can't relax, nor can I yield or relent. Think of me every time you fill it up and screw the stopper. As soon as you start flashing, I will find you. Did someone call? I demand a second opinion. What kind of flowers would you like? She thinks they're going to bury him. Is there an echo in here? Is there an echo in here? In case they were assassinated by the French. In case they were assassinated by the Germans. The firing squad are getting better. They hit the wall that time. Which actually quite reminds me of that episode of Troopers where the Death Star misses. Right, no windows. It will be difficult to marry an unknown woman to an officially dead man. I am not going to call my child Y. And the cop says Michelle's catchphrase in terrible French. Your personal problems are no concerns of ours. Must have been something he ate. It is against regulations to give lifts to hitchhiking nuns. They're very specific on that issue. And the doubles have let the power go to their heads. And the Hitler one is a really good parody of him. And this is apparently the guy who plays Herr Flick in the 9th season. And they just sit and drink and eat. I'm off at 6, and he'll get off at 6:05. That's what they all say. This one surprised me the most. Well, someone's wearing Guyver's 3-foot pants. And they accidentally lit the dynamite. You know, on this show, usually explosions don't kill people. I think this might be the one time that, yeah, the one exception. It will not be easy to keep secret. You may notice I am walking very gingerly. The officers look hilarious as Hitler and Goering. And fake Hitler falls over in the car. And Mimi, of course, plants it on René's birthday car instead. And the image of fake Hitler falling over in the car, everyone's seeing the footage of Hitler like standing in the car and doing the Heil, and this very intimidating, and then the idea of someone driving off and him falling over really comically and completely without dignity. Yeah, that's spot on. That's exactly how you mock the Third Reich. Oopsie daisy. I probably bounced the camera, sorry about that. And we move on to Awful Wedded Wife. And we are almost there. We are. The Big Bang surprised us. I just lost the seat of my trousers on some small change, and they took the bottle of gin. I think we better take that lentil soup off the menu. And Helga walks in as the lieutenant stuffs the money down his pants. Now the lieutenant can't stop cosplaying as Hitler. The down payment on the ransom quickly gets a lot smaller as it, changes hands. Yeah. So I see from your tie. And the lieutenant wants the money back. Poor Smallhausen's foot. His ball dropped. Helga looks like Sabrina the octogenarian witch. Let us hope he does. I know. There was a pigeon too. We cooked it for you. They probably checked the fruit basket to make sure that there wasn't anything dangerous in there, since it's being given to prisoners. And yeah, let's cook this thing. And the communist resistance is back. And the officers have to keep playing their parts. Many people sound like me. I have one of those voices. And Mimi gets pulled up by the bell ringer rope, and the cop pulls down her legs. And the priest is hitting his head by the hammer. Let's see, that brings us to firing squashed. And still recording. Careful, I have one up the spout. Congratulations. They're not usually this late. The general sure is upset. Not sure I've ever heard anyone say Heil Hitler in such a sing-songy, joyous voice. Silence, you mad interior decorator! Well, I could be flexible. The other girls call Louise the lieutenant. I guess she's not in charge. I'm pretty sure she was the last time we saw her. And they start biting the metals. They keep spitting on the floor with the commies. We're here to discuss, not to fight over some balding bartender. Actually, Michelle, you have come here to distract the commies so that you can free Hitler and Goering. It seems like this fight will do that just fine. As far as I know, it's not the color red, but the rag being shaken that angers the bull. Thankfully, it seems as though they are equally angered by Englishmen speaking terrible French. And all the resistance girls start fighting each other. Can you see the two bulls? What a delightfully fake-looking bullhead. Just a squashed policeman. Let's see. And the telegrams from the governor. And the telegrams is about the uniform. Maybe the trousers are ready too. Do not do it again, you naughty boy. Do they both have hernias? And a fistful of francs. And here we are. Send for a priest. Every time I look at him, the word daddy springs to mind. I did not need to know that. I will certainly be very pale on that day. It will not be a long journey. Until the communists go away. I have to wait until 1989? I do not think anyone will. For a moment I thought it was going to be complicated. Stuff the fish. Good play on words. Perhaps later I will open my flies. It may be old, but it is still in working order. One is rising now. The cop is right. Smoked salmon is delicious. And the cop arrived for no other reason than to deliver a bunch of bad French. I approve. Couldn't they just have killed the dogfish before they went out with just, yeah. It's for the complication. Dangling my rod in the water. Unfortunately, most of them were dead. I've got a big one. And the Gestapo are cooking the dogfish. And the inmates of the Amsterdam nut house. The peasants are going to be even less keen. I agree. Billy Blaze wouldn't possibly fit either of those uniforms. And the lieutenant walks with waste paper basket on his foot. Gilbert and Sullivan. I can see that. I'm not over the moon about it myself. How far over the moon? E.T., Tintin. Is that how you pronounce it? I've only heard it pronounced in my language. And it is French. And I don't know how it's pronounced in English, though I'd probably rather. If the French and English pronunciations are different, I pronounce it the French way. It was really only a matter of time before they suggested that the communist residents were lesbians. Michelle got off, as it were, only being implicated in sex with the cop. And the little tank stalls. I guess Nancy Callan was right about nobody else being able to drive this heap. Keep this heap running. Whoopsie daisy. Well, I hope it's right. Swan Song. Now, Seemed to be one episode short. I don't know what happened there. But yeah. Anyway, Hitler, come back. Oh, thank you. One of them speaks French, sort of. And they try to rip René's mustache off too. And everyone wants a drink. Where's your get up and go? It has got up and gone. They will never sell any ice cream going at that speed. Drive-by dessert selling. Especially the plunk they serve here. And the colonel just opens the lieutenant's letter. How do I know I can trust you? I'm an officer with the German army. That's what I mean. Listen very carefully. We shall sing this only once. She sings well. I don't think it's the first time Michelle has sung on the show, but I think the other time she was part of chorus. Always part of the chorus. René, you're still alive. As I am here and breathing, it would appear so. And I had chosen a beautiful coffin for you as well. I will keep it for another day. The cop has a lot of lines in this episode. Good stuff. I understand the weather in Spain is... Did you order a window cleaner? It is past my usual bedtime, but I hope you will let me stay up just this once. And still recording. And the colonel is hiding. The lieutenant does a good job, good impersonation of Edith's mother. It's like seeing Amy Jo Johnson doing an impersonation of Rita Repulsa. In both cases, clearly the actor watched the other actor's performance a lot. The general does not know Mama well. They have met a number of times. Helga, you know more about boobies than anyone else. We have seen enough of the painting. We have seen enough of the money. And it's the cut-up boobie, not the whole real painting, of course. And the doctor just says something awful and then stops doing his job. How very Trump of him. This is a perfectly fine finale. Did I write that? Never mind. Moving on to Season 9, Series 9. Gone with the Windmill. And we are almost there. There we go. Poking in the kitchen. It is a secret. Shut up. We will be blowing up the old mill, where the officers are. Well, it can't be anywhere the wind blows. It doesn't really matter. To me. And he thinks it's the laundry. The Gestapo look hilarious in the bandages. Or, Herr yeah. When I say Gestapo in voice typing, it gets it right. When I say Herr Flick, it can get it wrong in a number of ways. My god, it's the Invisible Man. There's still plenty left of the face. Poor René. It would appear the officers want to ride his bicycle. They want to ride his bike. The waitresses and Michelle's reaction to finding René's clothes is pretty funny. I did not expect Michelle to weep, though, but yeah. Raph, are you weeping? Lots of good cop talk in this episode. René is dead as a dodo. Imagine what he thinks isn't breaking it gently. René yelling help and then being pulled out of shot is pretty funny. And it is utterly dying, so... One day I'm going to find the guy who makes these whiteboard pens and I'm going to ask him why they die so easily after so few uses. Anyway, I think I already said the title, A Tour de France. I like how operatic the new communist leader is. Keep calm, you keen commie. Will there be any wild boar? Besides you, no. I'm losing confidence in the German army. But you still have officers like me and the lieutenant. That is why I'm losing confidence. Your knickers are boiling over, you can say that again. How about a plaque with a knife and a bread roll? He deserves more than that. 2 bread rolls. And immediately the Undertaker gets out a list of charges. And that one is for a waterproof cardboard cutout. Or our knickers will never be dry. I really expected that to get a bit of laugh. And he looks almost exactly the same without the bandages, but as I said in my old videos on the show, he's nowhere near as good. I mean, Helga agrees with me clearly, but the ecstasy is gone, yeah. You do not get me until the sun goes down. Please do not remind me of that Winkle Boys song. And he escapes wearing the pelt. And Edith immediately recognizes, I think it's her flick, yeah, probably. I love the ridiculously long, complicated full name of Buffy. We hunt where we like. Until he himself fired the rifle, I thought he was going to try to get the 2 officers shot by the other general. They shoot at René the pelt. It is customary to exaggerate. The waitresses have cried so much they have to wring out the handkerchiefs. Good, what's it called? Visual gag. You will not soon be forgotten. Who? And they try to communicate with the deceased René. Back from the groove? Maybe René requisitioned his groove back. And they think he's the devil because of the appearance. Alive and well after a week underground. Perhaps not the best choice of words. And moving on. Excuse me. Dead man marching. And first time that René has said good morning back to the cop whilst smiling. Remind me never to order a raspberry ripple ever again. And he wears the English flag under his pants, and not just tighty whities either, than like, I don't know, boxers, long boxers, I guess. At first I really thought he was wearing like full, what they're called, long johns or something. You know, all the way down his legs. And a big one too, and it sprays in the colonel's face. You are a dead man already, René. And René has to imitate the cop's bad French. I get why the cop lies down on the bed, but couldn't he take his shoes off first? You hear how people really feel about you when they think they aren't talking to you. René is doing well at sticking to the bad French when he's clearly upset with the peasants. I have left something in your bedroom to warm you up. Uh-oh. They do not make them like they used to. The girl's wailing is really sexist, but it is also really funny. Here. And René stands there with a cloth over his head and his pants down. And they believe it's a waxwork of René. I've just lost all my loose change. No one gets a hoovering for free. That must make the porcupine very nervous. Not half as nervous as it makes the agent. Hail, peasant! And here we are. I forgot there was this many getting the truth out of someone's sequences in the show. Truth serum, hypnosis. It must have been a very old porcupine with a bad memory. And Edith's hair stands on end like a porcupine. And the guillotine. It is I, Lieutenant. As homophobic as it is, the Lieutenant following René in the tank is pretty funny. And we reach Tarts and Flickers. And here we are. It seems so very long. Swing from the Chandelier? Isn't that a Sia song? Which almost became a College Humor parody. I'm going to laugh at Chandelier. Which I wouldn't have minded if they made that. I like all the, discarded, parodies. And I mean, they did make that one, the Pie song, into a real one, which is also one of the funniest videos. I would. And of course, Edith gets trapped in the clam. And Ernest turns away too. I think one was enough. We'll not go far on one booby. Certainly, where are they? In our business, most surprises are little. Any more Peter Lorre impersonations, and you will find yourself working in the Gestapo hat factory. Which is again a funny image, because they do. They all wore the, a lot of them certainly wore the hat, and just well, there must have been a factory, so yeah. So they stole the key, unlocked the door, locked it after them, and started sneaking around in the dark looking for a specific object. Now I'm really thinking of the thief games. Especially the first two. I'm not sure in the third one you can lock doors after you, and you certainly can't in the 2014 one, I'm almost certain. I still would, if the, I sincerely doubt anyone with the power to make it happen is listening to this, but, I mean, if you make a sequel to the 2014 one, or another reboot, or, another addition to the old franchise, I will almost definitely buy it and play it. And review it. That last part is not a threat. If you have any problems, flash me. With the torch, you dunderhead. May I ask what is going on? No. May I? I will climb in and come down and open the door. Yeah, definitely a thief game. Another you stupid woman bit. In some ways I'm really not going to miss the show much, and am glad to be almost done with it. And right before Edith can get her shining on, René looks out and realizes, so I married an axe murderer. A Fishy Send-Off. Second to last one. And still recording. How can I finish your chin when you keep talking? Every so often the show reminds us that when René breaks the fourth wall, other characters can hear him. I realize that he is used to the fact that it's a show, but the fact that other people on the show take it so well... I mean, do they all know? I'm almost certain there's one where, Yvette, broke the fourth wall briefly along with him. Does she ever say to Mimi, what do you think about all the people sitting at home watching us on their TV? And Mimi is like, what are you talking about? Or, I mean, at least in, when Deadpool breaks the fourth wall, most characters are like, what are you doing? The Undertaker trying to pull out the chisel is hilarious. It looks like a hand job. I'm honestly surprised that they were allowed to do something that... Is the word explicit? Does that fit here? I mean, it really, a lot of them, it's like, oh, there's stuff and something down someone's pants, or a metal rod is rising, but this really looks like a sexual act more than almost anything else on the show. Really, really looks like it. The lieutenant has something to tell you, General. No one would dare eavesdrop us. Yet again, you mean? Suicide teeth. It will take a long time to get to South America, and you will accompany me to the golf course, where you will play with me. Oh, you mean golf. I was going to say that didn't go so well for Homer and Marge. Either time. I could do with a hand to get upright. So what else is new? How many more hours of daylight? About 10. Let's hope that's enough. A wonky green. Don't blame the controller. I mean, the golf course. I love how the lieutenant's ball spins before hitting the hole. Well, that's different. I did not realize that yo-yos were that old. Remove my balls. Is this normal for a caddy? He was going to use his caddy for a golf club. Absolutely love seeing the Gestapo trying to carefully trying to follow every direction given for how to stand when hitting the golf ball. Some of the best physical comedy in the entire show. For if you're slightly confused by what I'm saying, basically he's standing there and Helga is saying, arch your back, and he arches back. Hold the club tightly, and then he does. I don't remember the exact things, but yeah, she's basically reading. It was the same stuff that was told to Bart when he was trying to learn how to play miniature golf for that episode. Just you have to do this and this and this and this, and and I think one of them was, and open your head, and so he opens his mouth in really comically. Just that was really funny, and it is like. Why is it? It's slightly confusing that it's called the head for people who don't know golf. I cannot wait that long. I will hit it now. It's like hit it 2 o'clock or something, and yeah. And the officers will go along on the float, and the club goes between René's legs. And the officers are dressed as crabs. They get to crab walk down to the beach, to mock the crabs. And they throw raw fish at the float. He's right. Privates should watch how they handle the general's package. And the soldier just can't help but yo-yo. And he accidentally blow up the Gestapo. And Fanny accidentally fired the gun. Mind you, do not catch your Winkle on the chain. And that brings us to the finale, which I've already mentioned is great. A Winkle in Time. In the old videos, I mentioned it was great. And I'm probably gonna repeat some of my praises of it here, but yeah, they're just, those are such good jokes. And still recording. And here we go, here we are. I have a mop. Would you like to take a leak? One of the best cop lines in the entire show. In reality, what he means is, I have a map. Would you like to take a look? But mop and take a leak. Yeah, I mean, that's... And the two Brits doing charades, yet again, is great. We should all be in the you-know-what up to here. I love how everyone reacts with utter despair at seeing the Brits. I mean, it's like none of them realize the war is basically over at this point. You don't have to hide them for very long, Excuse me. Fate can take a flying jump at a rolling donut. And Helga gets interrupted mid-shout. Will we be the last men? And they immediately try to get out the front door, and he knew they would, so he planted a guard there. And he catches them even at that. Seeing the waitresses and Edith dance to that British record really makes me appreciate the USO show song in the first Captain America movie even more. And I did not realize that was possible. Where is it? Around. I mean, everywhere. And we are very unpopular with the greengrocer. And the officers see the radio. I appreciate that they at least once did get to completely, and she even says he's not just anyone, he's the hero Nighthawk. And the British commandos will be here soon, so up yours. And all 4 of them raise their hands, like, over their heads to give up. It is two mouths put together. I'm not sure I've said, Heinrich Himmler becoming Uncle Heine never stops being funny on this show. Cheapskate. You won't be glad, but it's convenient for the writers that he only get, And they keep mispronouncing René's name. And the salute and handshake miss. Like, I think René tries to do that. I think René salutes, and the British officer, tries to shake his hand, and then the British officer salutes, and René goes to shake his hand. I love the officers trying to sound British, and the general immediately recognizes the other officers. Forget the kiss, but I shall be pleased to give you the push. And she pretends she intentionally pushed them in there. This is not the river. That might be the biggest screw up that the Schmollhausen ever caused. That's seriously, that's amazing. Does that mean that the Gestapo headquarters and Cafe René were like right next to each other, or just, I guess maybe it's possible that there's a bit between the two and we just didn't see the pushing through the tunnel itself. I'm really glad they were able to give the show a proper finale. The war ending, the Allies freeing France. It would have been so. It would have been really the show deserved a finale, and it's a finale. They had to do that one bit where the Christmas special jumps ahead by some time, but they got there. The whole point of the show was we have to make sure to protect the British and do a lot of damage to the German war machine until the war ends, and then the war ends in this final episode. That's, this is one of the shows where the final episode doesn't quite write itself, but the concept of it, the fact that the war ends and the Allies show up and all the Germans get like apprehended and such, that makes, there are a lot of shows where it's difficult to figure out what to do with the finale. Pretty good old person make. I'm talking about the many years later second to last part of the episode. And now René is in a wheelchair from age and being pushed by Yvette, so the gender swap there. And Edith is in bed now, and Mimi almost acts as the daughter coming up with food and such. And René Jr. is not René's, supposedly. And the statue is at least partly hollow, and the painting was hidden within. I just briefly... What was the last thing? He said that he accidentally... Like, he forgot where it was because he glued it between some menus. What was the last thing we saw with the actual Fallen Madonna missing? The Fallen Madonna with the missing boobie. I remembered that as happening earlier on the show. I thought I remembered more mentions of the Fallen Madonna with the missing boobie, but, this is the first time in a long time, in a lot of years, that I've been able to watch all the episodes. Before, I just had, like, a best-of set. And basically, if that set had about equally many late episodes as early episodes, then there might have been about equally many Fallen Madonna with the big boobies and Fallen Madonna with the missing boobie mentions. So I'm not sure. But yeah, what was the last thing we saw? The statue, I guess. It's possible that the Undertaker hid it in there or something. Yeah, I'm not sure. And Helga still has the missing boobie, kept it as a memento because that was when she finally got rid. I don't know if she remembers Flick fondly or not, but might have been the last time she saw them. That both Gestapo were probably like executed as. They did a lot of awful things. Or went to jail for a really long time. And René takes the lieutenant's car, and René finally gets to tell the truth about the affair to Edith. It's the one "you stupid woman" where he tells the truth. The only character that could conceivably have been in this very last part that isn't is Michelle. The Crabtree definitely went back to England, and the older ones, the Undertaker, Fanny, and Leclerc have died off. But then, why would Michelle have been there? What would she really have gotten to do or say? I do think, I don't know, maybe I'm being maybe it's asking too much, but I do think it would have been kind of funny if she had been there and there had been like this. Listen very carefully. I shall say this only once. As I am late, you know, my lunch break just ended, or something like that, you know. And yeah, but yeah, there wouldn't really have been room. There was just barely room for the Colonel. He barely gets to say or do anything. Now, but I do think it's funny to have, you know, Helga and Gruber basically on the same level now that they're married. And I'm not going to comment on the homophobic joke of, oh, he got married even though he's gay. And you've got the, what's it called? Yeah, the Gruber now being in charge of Strom, the Colonel from Strom, is pretty funny, considering how many times Strom abused his power over, you know. Though they don't actually do a joke. They don't have the lieutenant abuse his power over Strom. And you've got, and I like how René does a poor job of driving the car. Like, I don't know the name, you know, but I can tell he's doing something wrong with like the gears or something. The car is starting wrongly, and we just seen it drive. It's clearly not a bad car, you know. So, and I appreciate that basically everyone who was still alive did or said something in this episode. You know, yeah, absolutely everyone, and not in this very last part many years later, but early in the episode, yeah, you know, I think the only major character who does, yeah, Hans and Maria are basically the only characters who were like major characters who didn't show up at all. I guess you could say maybe also Louise from the Communist Resistance, but that's it. You know, and not all of them had equally much to do, but yeah, they did manage to get them all in there. And I think Michelle was even in disguise, so they even got at least, yeah, and the two officers tried to put on the airmen outfits as uniforms as disguises, so there was a little bit of that, and you had some stuff with the painting hiding the two British airmen. Are there any major elements left of the? Was there? I guess there wasn't really any real plan by resistance people, was there? But they were talking about how the war had ended, so they were like excited about how close our allies, the allied soldiers and such. So yeah, but one of the best finales of any show, really. And again, you know, part of it was like it almost wrote itself, but still, that really, they did a great job. Now, that is everything. So, yeah. Once again, next show, I'm only going to be starting watching it in about 2 weeks. So, you know, and then it's like 3 weeks per season. So, yeah, you know, almost 2 months from now. But the next show I'm going to be doing is 2.5 Men, which I have not watched all the episodes yet. I forget where, I actually don't know exactly where it was that I left off, but after a while, they stopped airing new episodes, I think, or I stopped watching TV, something like that. But yeah, I think I got a bunch into it. I guess I'm not gonna spoil. Just yeah, I'm not gonna. No, I'm not gonna say how far into it I got. It's maybe a later video. I'll probably note when I start the first new episode that I watch when I get there in that video. But despite what I've said, I have really enjoyed getting to watch this again. I probably did watch all the episodes back when it was on TV, but I mean, if I had to guess, 15 years, possibly more. So yeah, it's really good to have them on DVD so that I can actually watch them, you know, so I can rewatch in case I missed stuff and such. But that brings us to the end of this. and I hope you enjoyed watching, as I enjoyed recording. See you next time.